revenge with Lyra.
They wheeled their suitcases past security, took a grinning family selfie at gate C14, and blocked me before the plane even pushed back. My name is Sloane Avery. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What do you call love when it deletes you in real time? I watched my calls blink from ringing to voicemail to message not delivered. The group chat, Family Trip 2025, kept pinging for everyone but me, a chorus I could no longer hear. They had a motto in the caption: "What happens on a family trip stays on a family trip." Translation: erase Sloane. Archive the evidence. Come home to the same doormat, me. I didn't chase the plane. I didn't cry into an airport bathroom sink. I didn't post a response. I opened my email. Because the truth is quiet and practical, I booked the tickets. The confirmation code sat in my inbox like quiet ammunition. The return flight time was stamped across my calendar. Their hotel folio? On my corporate account, the one I'd created to help them earn family memories on points. Funny how memory works, especially when it's itemized. At baggage claim back home, they expected habit. Me, holding a sign with our last name, the car warmed, the route home mapped, the fridge already stocked. Because that's what I do, right? I carry everyone's weight and call it love. I stitch silence into a welcome and call it peace. So I made a list, not of people, of systems. Airport pickup, utilities, subscriptions, the spare key under the planter that I pay for every month, the car insurance that lives on my card because we'll sort it later, the family LLC that doesn't really matter until tax season arrives screaming. I canceled the airport pickup under my name. I rescheduled my own life under my name. And I called someone who only speaks in documents and dates. Round trip, he asked. Just the return, I said. There's a difference between rage and precision. Rage is loud. Precision sounds like a pen clicking open. I spent the week in silent choreography. Phone calls, emails, 2 in-person appointments where the receptionist offered water and I declined because thirst teaches focus. Their plane would touch down at 6:42 p.m. on a Sunday. Arrivals would buzz. The glass doors would slide open. Everyone would be scanning for me. I won't be there. But someone will be. A man in a navy suit, holding a clipboard and a printed sign that doesn't say our last name. It says a case number. They came through arrivals in matching hoodies, sunburned and satisfied, scanning every face like I was their luggage claim. Automatic, reliable, mine to carry. The man in the navy suit didn't wave. He lifted a small white placard. Case NO. 24, CV, 1187. Not our last name. A number. A boundary. He didn't drive a car. He carried a clipboard. Are you the Averys? He asked. My sister grinned. Finally. Where's the SUV? He clicked his pen. You've been served. For envelopes changed hands, paper soft as fabric, edges neat and cold. A security officer drifted closer, more curious than concerned. People watched without meaning to. That's the thing about quiet consequence, it's magnetic. I arranged this from my desk with 3 phone calls and a retainer. The man who only speaks in documents and dates had a question for me last week. What's the outcome you want on paper? Accuracy, I said. Then distance. Inside the envelopes. Petition to dissolve Avery Family LLC with an accounting due in 10 business days. Demand for reimbursement totaling $19,842.63. Flights, hotel incidentals, ride shares, annual insurance premiums I'd been told to just float. Notice of revocation removing every authorized user from my cards, accounts, and digital keys, effective 6:30 p.m. Phone plan poured out confirmation for 3 lines I paid for, terminating at 6:45 p.m. Arrivals clock read 6:42. My father's laugh evaporated first. My mother's hand went to her neck like she'd misplaced a necklace. My sister, ever brave when the bill arrives late, tried a smile and reached for solutions. Okay, Sloane, she said to the air. Very funny. Just text me. She tapped her screen. The iMessage bubble held its breath, then snapped. Not delivered. She tried calling. The call failed with a soft chime and an uglier truth. SOS only bloomed in the corner of her display. My mother's phone showed it too. So did my father's. They turned to the man with the case numbered like he might be a concierge. He wasn't. He pointed them to page 1, the clerk's office line, the docket, the calendar. "Ma'am, you've been notified," he said gently, as if he didn't want to startle them. "Please sign to acknowledge service." They signed, each signature smaller than the last. Out on the curb, they reached for what they always reached for, me. A car I warmed, a fridge I stocked, a life I cushioned. All 3 phones blinked to SOS at once. The sky was thick with signals. Theirs had none. And that's when the sliding doors opened again. Not for me, but for a second man in a slate blazer, carrying a small metal box with a tamper seal and an inventory sheet with our address at the top. The box wasn't heavy. It was precise. Inside, every spare key they had ever borrowed, copied, or pretended was theirs. The slate blazer man read from the sheet as if it were a grocery list. 1 garage fob, 3 door duplicates, 1 gate clicker, serial ending in 37B, 1 safe key. Each item slipped into the box with a muted clink. The sound of doors closing forever. My father bristled. "You can't just take our keys." The man's reply was calm, not cruel. They were issued under Ms. Sloane Avery's ownership. The locks were recoded this afternoon. It was true. At 2:15 p.m., a locksmith changed every cylinder, logged every click, updated every passcode. I stood by the doorway watching, steady as the drill word. By 2:40 p.m., the house was mine alone in function, not just name. At the airport, my sister tried to bluff.
"Fine.
We'll just go home." The slate blazer man corrected her gently. "You'll need to find somewhere else. The utilities have been reassigned. The insurance policies canceled. Effective immediately." Their shock wasn't loud. It was hollow. 3 faces realizing the air they'd been breathing belonged to me. For years, I funded their comforts, under the guise of family solidarity. I thought love meant footing the bill. I thought silence was cheaper than truth. But silence compounds interest. The lawyer explained it in legalese. Every dollar is traceable. Every signature has a timestamp. Every neglect leaves a ledger. And tonight, the ledger spoke. Outside, taxis lined the curb. My family stood stranded, luggage rolling against their shins, phones blinking SOS, keys sealed away in a box they couldn't open. People passing thought it was just travel fatigue. Only I knew it was years of debt maturing in a single hour. I wasn't there to see their faces, but I didn't need to. Because at that exact moment, my phone, the only one still with service, buzzed with confirmation. Utilities switched. Bank accounts unfrozen. Title documents filed. I pressed save on each notification like one presses petals into a book. This wasn't rage. This was record-keeping. And yet, something in me whispered, don't stop at paper. Because justice on paper is neat. But justice in reality is unforgettable. The question was, what came next once they left the airport curb, searching for a home that no longer existed? They dragged their suitcases to the curb, faces pale under fluorescent light. Travelers passed by with reunions, hugs, taxi horns. My family had no one. A yellow cab pulled up. My father waved it down, muscle memory of entitlement. He rattled off our address. The driver shook his head. Card on file declined. Cash only. Cash. They never carried any. Why would they? I'd always been their wallet. The driver pulled away, leaving exhaust and silence. My sister tapped furiously at her phone. Every rideshare app crashed into the same screen. Payment method unavailable. Her voice cracked. Who shuts down an Uber account? I had. At noon. With one password reset. They turned, desperate, toward the glass doors of arrivals. Maybe a shuttle? Maybe a rental car? But the second man in the slate blazer stopped them. He handed over the inventory notice, with one final line highlighted. All shared transportation privileges revoked. My mother's hands trembled. Sloane wouldn't do this, she whispered. But she knew. Of course she knew. Because love leaves fingerprints, and so does betrayal. Mine were all over the systems they never bothered to understand. Meanwhile, at my kitchen table, I sat with the lights dimmed. A cup of tea steamed beside me. My phone vibrated with the next wave of confirmations. Family phone plan terminated. Streaming accounts deactivated. Gym membership auto drafts canceled. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. I remembered my sister's smug toast on the trip before this one, when she clinked glasses and said, "To family perks." Perks. That's all I was to them. But tonight, the perks expired. At 9:03 p.m., my lawyer texted, "Documents accepted. Court date set. They'll receive notice by mail." Mail they couldn't open because the keys were sealed in that airport box. I pictured them huddled under the neon glow of the terminal awning, luggage wheels squeaking, phones blank, pride cracking. For the first time, they couldn't look down on me. They had to look around. At strangers. At exits. At consequences. And me? I wasn't watching from a distance anymore. I was already moving into phase 2. Because it's one thing to take away comfort. It's another to replace it with something they'll never escape. A reminder. And I knew exactly where to leave it waiting. The reminder wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was a letter, printed on crisp white paper, folded once, sealed in an envelope with no return address. By the time they scraped together enough borrowed cash for a motel on the highway, 1 room, 2 double beds, flickering neon that hummed all night, the letter was already waiting at the front desk. Room 214, the clerk said, sliding the envelope across without looking up. My sister tore it open, expecting maybe pity, maybe apology. What she found instead were 4 words in my handwriting. "Welcome to your freedom." They read it again and again, trying to twist the meaning into something less cruel, more familiar. But freedom wasn't comfort. It wasn't keys, cars, or plans already made. Freedom was bare. Freedom was the taste of air, without scaffolding. I had freed them from me. At home, I walked through the house they once treated like a shared inheritance. My fingers brushed the door frames they slammed, the cabinets they emptied without asking, the table where they laughed at my silence. It didn't feel empty. It felt finally mine. I sat down and opened the folder the lawyer had couriered. Inside, a ledger of transfers, receipts, signed acknowledgments. Hard proof that I had paid for every family trip, every emergency bill, every "we'll settle later." Each page was a map of my erasure. Now each page was theirs to face. Because the letter at the motel wasn't the only reminder. The real one would arrive in the morning. Certified mail, thick packets stamped in red. Deadlines, numbers, balances due. They'd have to sign at the front desk, pen shaking, just like they did at the airport. And when they opened it, they'd see exactly what I had seen for years. Every cost they ignored. Every debt they pretended didn't exist. It wasn't revenge. It was reflection, their reflection in black and white. That night, in their motel room, the hum of the neon light pressed against the silence. My father stared at the wall. My mother sat with the envelope clutched in her lap. My sister scrolled a dead phone, hoping it would come back to life. They wanted me to chase them, beg for inclusion, wait at the airport like luggage. Instead, they got freedom. But freedom with a ledger. And ledgers don't forgive. By dawn, the second reminder would knock. And this time it would be wearing a badge. The knock came at 7:12 a.m. 3 raps, not urgent, but official. The kind that makes your chest sink before your feet hit the floor. My father pulled the curtain back. A county deputy stood in the parking lot, hat tucked under one arm, clipboard in hand. The motel's neon vacancy sign buzzed overhead, painting his badge in a dull red glow. "Delivery for the Averies," he said. No smile. No malice. Just duty. He held out a thick stack of certified envelopes, each one stamped in heavy ink. Notice TO appear. My mother tried to protest. "There must be a mistake." The deputy shook his head. "No mistake, ma'am. Sign here." They signed, each stroke of the pen a surrender. Inside the envelopes, a detailed demand for repayment, broken down to the cent. Court summons with dates already scheduled. Notices that liens could be filed against property held in their names, property bought with my money. And one more page, slipped at the top. A withdrawal authorization, proving I had revoked their access to the family LLC's accounts. They were standing in a motel room they couldn't afford, staring at papers they couldn't ignore. I wasn't there. I didn't need to be. At that same hour, I was in a different building across town, the bank. I signed my name to finalize the separation of every account. The teller handed me a folder, embossed with gold, that contained documents in my name only. "You're free of co-signers," she said.
Free.
On the motel floor, my sister scattered papers around her like broken glass.
She can't do this.
She won't follow through. But the deadlines were printed in bold. The balances were real. And the system they dismissed as invisible, the system I quietly kept alive, was no longer invisible. It was merciless. My father paced, muttering about lawyers, about fairness, about how family doesn't do this. But family did. They did. And now the truth had an audience. The state, the courts, the banks. They thought betrayal was a game played on vacations and blocked phones. But betrayal leaves receipts. And I had delivered every one. Still, something in me knew this wasn't the ending. Because paper can demand. Paper can punish. But sometimes justice needs a stage. And the perfect stage was already on the calendar. One they'd circled in joy months ago. The family homecoming gala. And I had no intention of skipping it. The family homecoming gala was meant to be their stage. A hall of chandeliers, rented gowns, rented smiles, the annual spectacle where they paraded their unity for neighbors and distant cousins. They had blocked me from the trip, but I was still printed on the gala program. Sloane Avery, Treasurer, Family LLC. My name already inked in gold, months before they tried to erase me. I didn't call the committee to change it. I let it stand. Because nothing is louder than silence until it isn't. When the night came, they arrived late, still bruised from the motel, envelopes shoved into purses like contraband. My mother clutched a shawl tighter. My father adjusted a tie that no longer fit. My sister held her phone like a prop, the screen blank, service dead. The gala pianist played something cheerful. The lights dimmed. The MC tapped the microphone. "Tonight," he said, "we honor the family who built this community, the Averys. Let's welcome their treasurer, Ms. Sloane Avery." Their heads whipped around, and there I was. Not in the shadows. Not erased. I stepped onto the stage in a black dress that didn't beg, holding nothing but a slim folder. Applause scattered across the hall, hesitant, confused. My family froze at their table, caught between rage and fear. I opened the folder, clicked the microphone on, and began to read. Not insults. Not bitterness. Just numbers. Line by line, I recited the truth. The $6,200 in airline tickets charged to my card. The $8,400 in hotel charges funneled through my account. The utilities, insurance, streaming services, all tethered to me. The total, $19,842.63, unpaid, unacknowledged, carried by one name, mine. The room went quiet, forks frozen in midair. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The numbers spoke louder than any betrayal. My father shifted in his chair. My mother's hand gripped her wine glass until it trembled. My sister mouthed something, a plea, a curse, maybe both. I closed the folder. "That," I said softly, "is what family perks look like." And then I thanked the audience, stepped down, and left the stage to silence, so heavy it pressed against the walls. Because revenge isn't always thunder. Sometimes it's bookkeeping under a spotlight. And yet, one act remained. Not a performance. A decision. The gala gave me an ending they never expected. But what waited after the lights dimmed, that was the true finale. When the lights of the gala dimmed, I didn't stay for the awkward applause or the whispers that trailed after me. I slipped out through the side door, heels clicking against marble, cool night air rushing into my lungs like release. They stayed behind, my family, cornered by numbers, shackled by truth, stripped of the illusion they'd worn for years. Guests avoided their table, embarrassed to even meet their eyes. But I wasn't done. Not quite. At dawn the next morning, while they still hid behind blackout curtains and excuses, a courier delivered the last piece of my plan. A single page. Not a demand. Not a summons. A release form. It stated in plain type that I was no longer responsible for their debts, their bills, their games of inheritance. My name was gone from their LLC. My signature had sealed the separation. They wanted freedom from me. Now they had it. Legally, irreversibly, completely. And with it came the cost. The accounts were theirs to settle. The taxes theirs to pay. The reputation theirs to carry, fractured in front of everyone who once admired the illusion of Avery unity. I walked through my own doorway that morning, coffee in hand, sunlight pouring across the living room walls. My keys jingled against the lock, the only keys now. The house felt lighter, not because it was bigger, but because it was mine, finally mine, without the shadow of their entitlement. And somewhere across town, 3 people sat in silence, staring at a release form that felt more like a mirror than a document. Because it showed them what they truly had when I stepped away. Nothing built, nothing earned, nothing theirs. I didn't slam a door behind me. I didn't raise my voice. I just stopped carrying them. And sometimes, that's the sharpest revenge of all, letting someone collapse under the weight they swore didn't exist. Justice wasn't in destroying them. It was in setting them free to face themselves. And as I signed the final line,